Hey guys, today we're going to talk about one of the biggest controversies in anime, and that is subtitles or dub titles. Which one is the best? Subs or dubs? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back. First of all, happy 2024. We're now in month 2, and it's already been an amazing season. A lot of great animes out. If you haven't been keeping up, please keep up. There's a lot of stuff coming out right here in March too. We're supposed to be starting to get our Konosuba and Spice and Wolf, so really exciting stuff. Hope you guys are enjoying this seasons of anime. But we're gonna just jump right into it. Subs or dubs? Probably one of the biggest controversies in anime. If you go to any con, you have friends, everybody's got their own opinion on it. And I, of course, also have my own opinion on it. So I figured that today I'd just go over kind of the perks and the pros and the cons, if you will, of each, and kind of help explain some reasoning behind both sides of the story. Maybe at the end of this will help you maybe go back and check some of the animes in a different format that you hadn't before, because believe it or not, there's good enough reason for kind of both of them. But we'll just jump right into it. Starting off with subtitles. I'm gonna start off with subtitles because they are the original format for the anime. Anime, of course, being Japanese animation and made in Japan, is always just going to be subtitled. It's going to have Japanese voice actors acting. The perk of that, there's a few different perks. Number one, when they are creating the animation and they are doing the actual animation for mouth and talk and whatever, they are doing it with the mindset of the words and the creators. Of course, if you've seen different animations where they have the actual people talking and stuff, they're usually watching a screen and they are reading the script in sync with the actual lip animation. So the animation's usually made first. However, that animation is still made off of a script. So the script that they're reading is what the actual characters are, the animation is for. So in that case, when the actual Japanese voice actor is performing to actually give voice to the character, they're trying to do it in sync with already correct lip characteristics. So the correct animation is going for that. It's already going for the same. They're saying Ohio on different weird things. Weird things, not weird, but you know what I'm saying. They're saying things in a different language to meet a animation in that same language. It's not. They're not dubbing English words onto that. They're doing the original format, so it looks way more crisp and a lot more cleaned up because that's how it was originally made for. Number two, another huge thing about Japanese and watching it in subtitles. Japanese is a very, very intricate language. It technically has, I want to say, 3 alphabets. Again, still kind of learning this stuff. But 3 alphabets, very different usages of words, and they have different words for different things that we don't even really have words for. Or we have lackluster words for those similar things. Kind of best way to put it. But what I mean by that, and the problem with dub that sub does not have, is in the original script, they will write with these words, these Japanese words, in the language. So you are more likely in subtitles, even though, yes, they are English subs, you're more likely to see and be able to read a correct creation of the script, the original actual concept of it. And then lastly, one of the biggest pros to me about watching a subtitle anime is the actual voice actors themselves. Because again, based off on the animation and off of the actual language, Japanese voice actors are also very audible in actual sounds. They create a lot of the vocal sound effects and give that as a personality to their characters. What I've noticed a lot is Americans American actors, voice actors especially, they typically are only for the voice. They're going to go in, they're going to speak, they're going to do their lines. And this is true in anime, and it's true in cartoons, television shows, animated series in America. American shows, especially cartoons, rely more on just random sound effects to be kind of more of the background. Whereas the actual speaking, sure, it might have a funny accent or something to it, but it's not like weird, funny little quirks to it. Whereas Japanese anime especially is the opposite. While they do have some sound effects in the anime, that's only for the ambience or whatever's going on in that situation. The voice actors themselves create a lot of the cackles and different all these like funny, cute, and mannerisms that only those actors use in that. Like even when it gets dubbed, they don't keep that. Like good animes to go and check to kind of see that difference. And I'll see if I can post maybe a clip or two. But if you take like Fujiwara from Love is War and you put her in comparison, both amazing actors in what they did. Brought that character to life, hilarious character either way you watch it. However, if you watch it in dub, you're going to get the funny comedy lines, whereas if you watch it in sub, you're going to get her also very expressive noises. And just all these like funny noises that only the Japanese voice actress creates and gave this character life, kind of. Like when you kind of see in comparison, especially in comedy anime specifically, Japanese voice actors are like way faster than American. I mean, it's a well-known fact that the American English, if you will, is already a very slow. Us in the West talk a lot slower than most people around the world. That is still true in anime. And while I am not docking any of these phenomenal actors at all, it's just different. So in, again, the Japanese, you can hear the speed, the tempo, it gets funny. They're running just... It's hilarious, especially in comedy. Whereas in the dub, while they will be talking fast, it's not nearly the same impact. So those are the big pros, I will say, of sub. Now, there are cons to sub that people will always bring up. The number one con of a subbed anime, in my opinion, is, of course, that you might have split focus. It is, you're watching something up here, and you're reading something down here. It does take a while to adapt and get used to that, because you feel like you have FMO, basically. You have the fear of missing out. You're doing this, you're having a hard time, and sometimes you'll feel like you missed something or you didn't read something fast enough. And I get it. It can be a bit of a skill you have to create. That is probably the number one biggest miss out, sadly, on subs, is that yes, you do have to read and you have to be able to keep up. Now, in action animes, that's not as much of a problem because the dialogue's a lot lower. Or if it is, it's very stagnant. So fight, hold, send lines, go back to fighting, and it's mostly grunting or something. In comedy animes and other animes like that, it is a bigger, like you're reading a lot more dialogue. I will say, in kind of defense of this problem, if you will, this con, is that yes, there are going to be scenes in different animes that you're watching where you are doing this and you're doing it. It happens. A lot of the anime, though, do not do heavy animation and heavy dialogue at the same time. So if you're watching a dialogue-heavy anime, you're typically watching just two characters stay on the screen and they're talking back and forth. So reading as they're talking and they're looking back and forth, you're not really missing out on anything. You're actually capturing it all and you're good. And then in action, if you get into any shonens and stuff, this includes everything from One Piece to Naruto to even even JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, which is a little bit more heavy dialogue than those two. They do a phenomenal job of, it's not tons of talking while there's fighting, or if it is, it's in a rush slow-mo scene or something to kind of do it. Pardon me, I'm still getting over being a little sick, so apologies. But the anime is in one continual gradual motion that allows you to shush Siri, that allows you to be able to read and keep up with the animation. The show writers aren't just throwing dialogue heavy script on a crazy scene that you're missing out. That I'm sure there are times that has happened. It's not a very common time, at least not what I've seen. And I'd like to say that I've seen a good bit of anime at this point. But those are kind of the biggest cons. The biggest con is you just have your split focus. Now going on to dubs. Dubs, honestly, the biggest pro is it's easy. You can, just like any of your normal shows that you're used to, because we're Americans, at least most of the people I'm assuming watching this are Americans. When you're watching anime, now you don't have to read. You just focus, you listen, you have a good time. It is easier, 100%. That is the pro, is it's easy. The other pro, again, I mean, it's just easy. There's no split focus. There's nothing to have to read. It's just you watch, you listen, you have a good time. The cons of dub, where you will have now the kind of fight and the bicker between different anime fans. Dub anime has a few more cons, in my opinion, than just the one big con that sub anime has. Number one, again, going on the language thing. Because there's not actual words that we can necessarily put in as substitutes, like to actually correctly substitute Japanese literature as well. We will have substitute words in our anime. So one, you will have a changed script. And two, based off of that, because they're usually changing the script also to possibly match whatever the animation is. So, like I was saying, when they're creating the animation's already made with the script of a Japanese script in mind. It's not being animated for an English script. English words could have way more syllables to get to the same point. They could use more words. They could use less words. The dub writers of anime actually have a more challenging task than just going and translating. Because if that's all it was, not saying that Google Translate's a good translate, but there's plenty of tools that they would be easily able to translate the script and just move it. The problem is they can't just take the translated script and roll with it. Because if you just translate, just like you see if you use Google Translate or something like that, it will be very broken and weird sentences. You'll get a kind of premise, but obviously that's not a conversation. Like, that can't be in the actual show. So now they have to go and essentially build the script, keeping the same plot, keeping the same points, keeping the same names that were talked about, but they have to now do it in English, and so that brings its own challenges, and they have to try to make sure that it matches the animation the best they can. They can't just throw a ton of words in a new sentence to make the sentence make sense when the lips only move 5 times. Now they might have to either crop that animation a little bit, or they're going to have to change out words to better fit that. So you'll have that problem. Kind of piggybacking off that, another con, even though this is a lot rarer problem now, this was a bigger problem several years ago when animation was a little older and we didn't have as many tools as we do nowadays, but Godzilla text. And what that means is, just like in the old 80s Godzilla movies, when those got overdubbed, you would see get to the chopper. Like you would see the words to lip animation was so off that it was almost hard to it was hard to watch because you just see them and just random words just kind of going. It didn't sync up. It looked weird. That's how it is. While that's not necessarily a problem now, if you are somebody who likes to go and look at older animes and do different things, that will be a little bit of a challenge. If you go back and watch something even as old as like 2005 and 2008, or if you go back and you want to watch some of the old 80s like Dragon Ball Z and things like that, the animation, if we're watching it in dub, will be a lot harder because if you think that you weren't going to have split focus, you're going to be seeing this and words not synced up with it at all. And it will, and for me at least, it drives me crazy. And it brings up my ADHD. I just am like, what is going on? I'm not even paying attention to now what's being said. So that is not really a problem nowadays. But if you are a connoisseur, you like to go and check out the old things, you want to go watch your Evangelion or you want to go watch your Dragon Ball Z originals, that will be a challenge and a problem for watching dub specifically. This is one, I wrote it down as a con just because it is one that a lot of people do argue about in against being against dub, and that is same voice actors. Again, I am not harping on any of these voice actors. They're phenomenal. I love them. However, Japan, yes, they do have some actors that do a lot of the same stuff, obviously. Japan has a much more broad range of actors. For any of their animes, they have all kinds of phenomenal actors who do all this stuff. While yes, you will listen to an anime and you'll get used to being able to pick out like, hey, I think I know who that voice actor is, or hey, I know that voice actor is. That is a much bigger thing here in America. You will have a lot of the same cast on a lot of the same projects. So you will have a lot of same voices in your head all the time. And that can also be, I've also seen it argued that it's more noticeable in America only because since we're used to that English language and those accents, it's easier for us to associate the same voice actors than notice them in Japanese because we're not used to that dialect or accent. And that could be very true. All right. But I have seen that people are more, it's a more noticeable thing, especially as an American watcher, that a lot of your same voice actors are in almost all the animes. So it sometimes gets hard because you're trying to disassociate them with a new character now. You're hearing that character and maybe it reminds you of this, and kind of back and forth. What's the point of all this? All right, now, again, this is just kind of me laying out the kind of arguments, the back and forth. At the end of the day, everybody should watch the anime, enjoy the anime how they want to. If I were to take some of the best dubbed anime I've ever seen, Cowboy Bebop, for one. Fairy Tail was really well done dubbed. Even Naruto was phenomenally done. Pokemon series is also surprisingly really well done dubbed. There's nothing wrong with them. They're great shows, and you can watch them in either format, and they're phenomenal. I will say, and I kind of said it earlier or hinted towards it, I personally am pro sub. I prefer sub over dub, and most times if I'm going to watch it ever, at least first starting out, I'm watching it subbed. One, I get the added perk that I'm watching it before people usually end up. While there are simulcasts, that's usually on huge breakout mainstream animes. That's not on your Spice and Wolf, your Love is War, it's not on your more low tier animes or more niche stuff. That's mostly mainstream and usually shonen. So one, I do get the added benefit now of I get to see it released as soon as it's released. I don't have to wait for usually a week or a few weeks, or maybe even until after the entire show's out in sub. I have to wait, and then the dub will come out. I don't have to wait on that. I can just watch it in the format that I like already as it comes out. Which, if everybody knows, it's already hard to compete with these manga readers who want to spoil everything. So as soon as you can watch it, it's pretty nice. But one, I get to watch it as soon as it comes out. I get to see it in its original format, and it doesn't ever hurt me to later be like, hey, you know what? Like, I want to rewatch that show, or hey, I saw the dub was out. Let me just watch like an episode in the dub and see how it is. Interesting, and sometimes I will enjoy the dub more. That does happen. But I will say, from my experience, any shonen anime can pretty much do phenomenal in dub. If it's just straight up like a One Piece or a Naruto or even Fairy Tail and Full Metal Alchemist even, if it's a heavier action show, they usually do phenomenal in dub because, again, one, it's action, it's just a lot of fighting, there's not a whole lot of dialogue, so they don't write heavy comedy or big words or different things like that. It's a more simplistic script, usually. Not saying that's a bad thing, just saying that that's usually how it is. So it's easier to watch those shows, enjoy them, and you're going to listen to them in dub. You get a nice, fun, gruff sound usually from some of these guys, and you have a good time. Whereas, to me, the dub format does not do a good job in comedy or any dialogue-heavy genre. That's from romance, comedy, slice of life, any of this side, the sub is superior, usually. You have a lot more emotion and sounds that the voice actors make in Japanese that the dub actors don't usually either keep or do, or if they try to do it, it sounds really weird when they try to do it. One of the biggest, and kind of using Love is War again, that I debated with my own siblings, is if you take Love is War, I want to say it's is it the second season? Yes, second season. There's a rap scene in the park. The dubbed actors do a phenomenal job recreating it. They do. I'm not knocking what they did. It's still funny. It was good. However, the subbed, it is pure gold. Like if you watch them, it's complete win on it. Again, phenomenal. You watch it, you probably had a good time, a good laugh. You watch it in sub, it is like 10 times funnier. Fujiwara is doing like these broken English things. Oh, that's another thing. Sorry, pause. Another thing I didn't even think about. In Japanese script writing, when they are writing and they bring in a Westerner character, the Japanese will break usually their accent and their language and actually say something in English, and it's hilarious because they're usually either mimicking or mocking or doing something funny about it. Like one, Steins Gate. Guy walks up, there's an American in the street, he goes to talk to him, he's like, I am mad scientist, I am so cool. And says it, the Japanese voice actor says that in English in the Japanese subtitle version. So you see it, it's hilarious. In JoJo's Bizarre JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, you see Joseph constantly saying, oh my god, or different things that are just in this like rough, hilarious, jokingly English and Western. Joseph being a Western character, he will have these breaks of in character of having this English. Whereas if you see that in the already dub, it just sounds like, why are they like being silly with their voice all of a sudden? In the Steins Gate, you now have him walk up, he's already talking in English, going, oh, hey, man, let me see if I can talk to him cool. Hey, I'm a mad scientist, so cool. Like, you're like, why is he just weird? Like, what is he doing? It's such a sharp, like, turn when you're watching it in sub that it's hilarious because he's talking in Japanese, you're reading the subtitles, and all of a sudden he's like, in full English, I am a scientist, so cool. Like, it's hilarious. So anytime that things happen like that, in the Fujiwara rap, she actually says the F word, and it's in English. She doesn't say it in Japanese, so she doesn't say a Japanese cuss word. She says mother. And it's hilarious. But when you listen to it dubbed, you're just like, okay, haha, fun rap. But when you see it in like that break that the actual voice actors and the actual script writers do to actually use English is now highlighted in that script when they do it, versus it just being part of the script in dub. So, my big suggestion for anybody who is watching this, take any of those animes that you've seen that are comedy, that are romance or whatever, and seriously go listen and watch, go watch them and read them in the subtitle. Go do that. I'm not really asking you to do that with the shonen or action because, like I said, while yes, I've even watched some subtitle and they're still phenomenal. To me, it's apples and oranges with it's just neither here nor there. It's kind of same. Apple and oranges, not the same. Anyways, but it's at 50-50. Like, to me, the watching it in dub's fine, watching it sub's fine. It's whatever. I'm also not as huge of a shonen watcher as I am dialogue. So I do lean heavier to sub because of that reason. I will say, because I guess, technically Attack on Titan is shonen. I would also suggest watching Attack on Titan subtitled if you've never watched it subtitled. The voice actors for the dub are phenomenal. They did a great job. However, the Japanese voice actor for Eren Yeager himself is like immensely talented. Like, crazy. Like, his range and his voice acting of what he does, and you get glimpses of like Eren and into his mind and stuff. The way that the voice actor like changes his tone and does different things is phenomenal, and there's not a way to really better describe it than just watching it. And again, the English actor was phenomenal. It just, to me, can't hold a match to it. Another one to mention, I guess before I do this, is Demon Slayer. I would watch Demon Slayer subbed as well. And honestly, that's only because of Inosuke. Inosuke's voice actor makes Inosuke in dub a heavier comedy character, which is fine. He is more of a comedy character. He does have serious moments, but he's hilarious. He's fun. Everybody loves him. He's funny. The dub gives him a goofier voice. It's funny. It's a great time. If you go and watch him in the sub, that voice actor is like, like it's a lot more of a heavy, like he's got like one of the heaviest voices in the entire anime. And like when he goes like primal into stuff, it's not just now this like lapse in goofiness. It's like, oh bro, like he sounds like he's gonna kill somebody. Like, it's crazy. And it makes when he is funnier and doing the funny stuff even more hilarious, because it's such a break from this almost like I am a harbinger of death like type feeling character to Tanjiro, like, and just like hilarious. Whereas the dub, he just kind of always feels like this goofy character, and even when he's fighting, when it's a little bit more serious, it's hard to take that away from him. But yeah, I would check all those out and even give them a try. It's definitely worth trying out and getting used to. And I prefer subs, but it's not for everybody. So definitely watch anime how you want to watch anime. Obviously, I'm not telling you how to live your life. All I'm suggesting is that you should also broaden your horizons. But that's it for this day. Just want to kind of go back and forth and talk about that controversy, if you will. And we'll be making some more episodes here in a bit. You guys have a good one. Let's talk Otaku out.